Hi, this is Matthew with Garagistic, here to talk about our OEM Supreme Shifter. Our OEM Supreme Shifter is based on our solid mount shifter. Now, the only reason that you wouldn't want to run our solid mount shifter is because you have to have transmission bushings that are either poly or Delrin. These are very rigid, so the transmission cannot be moving. So with a solid mount shifter, you have to run either poly bushings or Delrin bushings. They have to be able to almost have no movement in there, or else you're going to have a problem getting it in gear. You could possibly damage the chassis. So just think solid mount, solid transmission bushings, but that includes poly. If you want that OEM plus and no noise coming in there, that's why you would want to not run our solid mount. So we ended up finding a solution, and that's our Supreme Shifter. So what this basically is based on the solid mount shifter. It uses about 80% of the components, which means all the shift knobs and all the rods that we offer for our solid shifter are available for the Supreme Shifter. Now, the Supreme Shifter actually utilizes your factory carrier, which means that you can use stock transmission bushings, which means no noise in your car. So that's one of the biggest advantages over our Supreme Shifter or over our solid mount. Basically, this is based loosely off the Z3 geometry. So it's very, very close. This is a factory OEM BMW Z3 shifter. This is very common practice in the BMW community to use this as a short shifter for your car. I mean, it's great in E30s, it's great in E36s, E46s, Z3s, you name it. This is the go-to. So we based our geometry to get the height of it almost like this, so that way, okay, this is kind of like the industry standard, if you will, but the disadvantage of a Z3 shifter is two things. Cost. These things are going up in cost. It just almost doesn't make any sense for these things now, where we can machine something complete like this, and a couple of the options rival the price of a factory Z3 shifter. But the biggest disadvantage of running a Z3 short shifter is the amount of play found in the rubber carrier. Now, if you look at this, basically that's all rubber in there. So that's just playing right there. I mean, it almost takes me no effort to just move that. And BMW designed this for comfort, so we know why they did it. And we tried everything with these things. We tried polyfilling them, but it just has a lot of play inherently. So in order to eliminate that, basically this is all billet aluminum, and there's a double threaded rod on the inside. That's what eliminates all that play in that carrier. So here you can see, this is a printed concept, so you can kind of see the mechanics of it. Just like the factory, it has a plastic ball on this particular one. We have aluminum for our production model. But basically, this is the internal mechanism that makes it so adjustable. So as you can see, you can fine tune your throw from the bottom and from the top, depending on the rod length that you have. But basically, this is what's inside of it. But because there's no rubber here at all, there's no play when you're actually shifting back and forth. So that deflection that used to happen with OEM shifters and the Z3 upgrade doesn't happen with our Supreme Shifter. Now with the Supreme Shifter, you can definitely customize the look, the feel of your shift knob. You can have 2 or 3 different setups, different length rods, different shift knobs. I mean, you can basically have 2 types of setup, an OEM setup and a track application, drift application. So it's super customizable. Now regardless, if you run the solid mount shifter or the Supreme Shifter, you really gotta make sure that your OEM components are up to spec. Now with the solid mount, all you have to do is make sure that you have a really nice transmission, it's refreshed. At minimum, a selector joint in the front has to be replaced. So those are kind of like that. The DSSR, that's the solid mount shifter. Supreme Shifter has a lot more components because you still utilize the factory carrier. So with the factory carrier, there's a couple things you should really replace when installing the Supreme Shifter. One of those things is the front bushing. So basically this part right here is all rubber. So you can see it's actually, that's hardened rubber where I'm actually letting go, and it's just sitting there. So that's a lot of play in the front carrier system. So we make Delrin, so you're basically, it gets pressed inside there. So when it's actually pressed out, you have that, which basically you just press in the Delrin bushings on both sides, and that eliminates basically your shifter side to side play. So actually when you're shifting back and forth, this thing doesn't want to just go like that. So Delrin, we have a Delrin and aluminum versions of the shifter bushings in the front, round and oval. Now depending, most E30s had round, E36, E46 came with both, and then there was the later models which all had oval bushings. Regardless, your front carrier bushings should definitely be replaced. The other component that you should definitely replace on these as well is going to be the rear carrier. On the E30s, we sell a whole carrier assembly where you can just completely replace it. On E36s and E46s, you got basically a housing. So this is a factory bushing, quite a bit of mileage on this. And basically this is the casing that fits on top. So when I actually put it back on, so when your carrier is like this, you end up just putting it like that. Look at the amount of play in that. That's so much play. So even if you have one of our Supreme shifters, it's not gonna make up for that. It's just, you can't. You just replace that. All you gotta do is you buy our Garagistic rear carrier bushing in poly, and you basically burn or press out the original bushing, because you're gonna have to use the casing, and you'll end up with this, which gets pressed in. So basically that's our poly bushing, and then once you've removed the sleeve, it slips on, pops back in the chassis. Now as you can see, there's literally just no moving that. I mean, that's pretty good. So between the front being replaced, the rear being replaced, and then now the new Supreme shifter, you have almost what it takes to run the Supreme shifter. Now we really, really recommend that you change your selector joint in the front. They have a lot of play, and that's a maintenance item. You really should just be in there doing it, replacing it anyway, but that also carries some play. So you replace your shifter joint in the front, and basically the last major component, regardless of solid mount or Supreme, or even OEM application for that matter, is your selector rod. This is a system where basically only one of the pivot points is mounted, so it would inherently have play when you shift. That's when you need a DSSR. So DSSR is basically hold from 2 points, which eliminates side-to-side play. So regardless, this is a great bang for buck item. It's very affordable, and it works for both these applications as well as factory applications, and eliminates a ton of play. So we really highly recommend that you do these things while installing these shifters. These things are phenomenal, but you gotta make sure your OEM setup is caught up. Now, there's an upcoming product that will definitely help you with the Supreme shifter install. Now, as we said before, the Supreme shifter mimics the Z3 geometry. As you can see though, the Z3 geometry isn't straight. Ours is. And that's for manufacturability, making sure that the cost is a decent price point to be able to offer to the public. We could make a component like this. It will be considerably more expensive. It just makes sense to do it straight. So we did. Now, last thing, we do have another option coming out in the future. And what it does is basically eliminate the shifter ball. So basically this is, again, the Supreme shifter, and it has an aluminum ball here, and it uses all the stock carriers. So we do have another option that will also use a stock carrier. However, it'll move that pivot point up, possibly getting rid of the ability to running a different DSSR, and further eliminating play, because it's going to basically use another component of our solid mount shifter, and that is the spherical bearing. So this would be V2. It's unreleased. It's something that's still in the works, but basically this would just literally fit into the carrier, and we're going to have a casing. So that way, this is actually a bearing at that point. So it's going to be even less play, and by moving the pivot point up, we might be able to eliminate the need for an adjustable DSSR. It's in the works. Stay tuned. We'll have another episode about it very shortly in the future, but super awesome things coming out. And now that gives us almost 3 different choices for you guys on shifter setups that you can make to your liking. So now our head mechanic Tito is going to show you how to install a Supreme shifter in an E46 M3. The process is identical, whether it's E30, E36, E46. We just happen to have an E46 here. So he's going to walk you through the process of replacing your front bushes on your carrier and most of the components on there, as well as installing it on the car.
Alright guys, so we are in the convertible. So we're going to swap out the factory shifter for the Supreme short shifter. While you're doing this, you're going to want to replace the front carrier bushing. That one just gets pressed out pretty easy, or if you have a hammer, just support it properly, bang it out, careful, it can't snap. And then the change out the rear carrier bushing as well. That one, a lot of people just burn it out, but you can kind of peel it out in a way if you don't want to do the burning, but burning it will be faster if you like. Alright, so this is another car. This is an E36. Same thing, we have the Supreme short shifter installed. We replaced the front and the rear carriers. We put aluminum ones in the front and then the poly insert in the rear. And as you can see, there's no play in the carrier. All the movement goes directly into the transmission itself, so you can start shifting right away. You can see, probably get a glimpse of the DSSR moving. All the movements in the DSSR, nothing in the carrier. So you want to eliminate as much play as possible. you need to do the front and rear carrier bushing. Alright guys, so here's the old selector rod. We're gonna put in our DSSR into it so you can get the full feel of it. So this one's pretty easy. It's gonna be in a car like this. Sometimes it'll be sideways or whatever the case may be. You can either spin it to whatever direction, but easy, you just put a flathead in it and you push and it'll fly out. So watch it go like that. Easy peasy. If you're planning on reusing this, just make sure you don't lose that. Alright, so I showed you how to remove the selector rod. I already installed the DSSR for this vehicle already, so I'm going to remove the factory one and put in our Supreme short shifter. Just quick tips on this. So if you look closely, there's actually like a lip here and on the opposite side. So one trick is you could get some long needle nose pliers. You can put it on opposite sides and spin it clockwise, because if you do, it'll pinch this lip here, because this is what locks in to the carrier, these two lips on opposite sides. So you can see how one side has a slight flat spot. So if you spin it clockwise, it'll actually compress it, and then you better just pull it out. Or a different way to do it is with a hook. You pretty much put it right here on the sides, because they're opposite sides straight across. So you put it one side here, and then you use actually the transmission tunnel as a, and then you pull it, and see that's one side up. So then I keep pressure up, because that's gonna want to sit back down, and you come back to the other side, same thing, and there's the other side, and then there it is. So two different ways to do it, whatever's easier for you, it gets the job done. Alright, so here just side by side the Z3 to our Supreme shifter. So the furthest away the pivot point is, the shorter the throw. So our lowest point is already longer than the Z3. So off the bat, it's already going to be a shorter throw than the Z3. If you want it shorter, just keep adjusting it, and then just set it to where you're liking it, and then done deal. Just pop it in. Same thing. So just line up the lips for it to lock in straight across. And then you can use your hand, or if you want, grab a tool, the back of a tool, and just tap it in. Alright, so now I'm gonna go back under, hook up the DSSR. Really important, the ball we actually made just slightly bigger than the factory one, so there will be a slight braking period. It might get stuck to the 5th gear lean or to the 1st gear lean, but then as you drive it and go through it, it'll start to spring back, and then it'll be perfect. Alright, so remember, it is adjustable. Right now we have it set at the highest point, which will be the longest throw, and even then it's still a short throw, as you can see. So if you want to get a little bit shorter, go ahead and set it down a little bit, come back up, go to the gears. Once you find that perfect setting, go ahead and put a little bit of blue Loctite on the set screws, tighten them down, and then forget about it. Alright guys, so you have it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's like replacing a factory part. If you are interested in the Z3 shifter, highly recommend our Supreme short shifter. It's really similar in the throw as the Z3 shifter, but you also have the room for adjustability if you want an even slighter, shorter throw. So thanks for watching. Come back for another video. Peace.
With a fucking name like that, I want drunken noodles. Yeah, okay, get the drunken noodles. Is this being recorded right now? Am I ordering drunken noodles through this YouTube thing? Fantastic. Include that shit in there, that'd be great. Wait, Thai iced tea, that's where they, like the serve you stuff?
No, that's we have the completely different thing. I don't know what that is. I don't know what you do on the weekend. Yeah.
I'm like freezing up here. I gotta like make like a warrior call.
Yeah.